how desire for pleasure arises. The root truth about us is we are slaves of pleasure, aren't we? Apart from survival, our primordial motive of life is to have pleasure. One may ask, what is the point of living without pleasure? Life devoid of it would be barren and vacant. It will be a good self-reflection to watch how you seek pleasure knowingly or unknowingly. Find the ultimate motive of any of your action and see it is done in order to gain pleasure. What are the kind of pleasures you enjoy, you seek? Make a list of them. What are the pleasures you seek through sight, sound, smell, taste and touch? Do not take joy, happiness and comfort as pleasure because they have nothing to do with pleasure. Now we have come to a point where we need to define pleasure so that we can separate it from which are not pleasures. It is an act done consciously or unconsciously with the motive of gaining pleasure through a sensual or mental stimulation. That is the definition of pleasure. Act done consciously or unconsciously with the motive of gaining pleasure through a sensual or mental stimulation. Now you see that joy, happiness and comfort do not belong to that category. What is the part that mind plays in seeking pleasure? Though the sense organs can feel pleasure, they need mind to intensify it and indulge in it. Mind does it mainly through imagination. So a great part of pleasure is imagined. We hide our craving for pleasure and keep it secret because we fear by exposing it will vanish away. Pleasure's very nature is secrecy, tendency to hide like a thief. However, my purpose here is to examine it openly. The best way to understand it is to observe it directly and mindfully as it arises, develops and falls. When inquiring the nature of pleasure, you will find that it has a dark side, just as a shadow. It is a state of gloom, melancholy and downheartedness and low spirit. This dark side can be explained as the after effect, the low effect resulting after a high. The high is always followed by the low. Higher the pleasure, stronger the after effect of the gloom. This state can be called existential vacuum, which seems the most suitable word here. Pleasure is enjoyed against this dark vacuum. There is a Zen story to illustrate the point. It goes like this. A man, while roaming in a forest, suddenly encounters a wild elephant. It chases furiously and the man runs away for his life. While running in the forest, he accidentally falls into an abandoned well. However, while falling down, he happens to catch a thorny creeper and he grabs it tightly. Looking down, he sees a deadly serpent lying down at the bottom of the pit. Now, he is surrounded by 3 deaths. The elephant outside, falling down, and the deadly serpent. While hanging helplessly, he happens to see a honeycomb on the left. He picks it up and begins to eat while hanging. This situation is similar to our enjoying pleasure. We enjoy pleasure against a dark vacuum like the pit in the story. Now, how does pleasure arise in mind? It doesn't come all of a sudden. It comes at the end of a process which goes like this. In the beginning, you are in your natural homeostatic state of being with no problem and no conflict. All right? Then you come into contact with a pleasant object arousing a pleasant sensation. It may be a sight, sound, smell, taste, or touch. The sensation is natural in that it is a response of our mind. The sensation arises and wanes away if not touched. But if you grasp it, thinking that it should be possessed, then in that moment desire arises. With the arising of thought, desire comes into being. You understand? Now this desire boosts up in the mind to activate. The former natural state of mind is disturbed and get lost. Now you are restless, aroused, disturbed. This is a purposeful selection of yours. You choose unrest, leaving away your natural state of being. Now the unrest creates a frustration and it pushes you to get the object of pleasure. So you calculate and plan a way of achieving it. The desire produces the energy needed for the action. You work hard and finally achieve the object of pleasure. You enjoy it. In the act of enjoyment, the energy in the desire is released, and the releasement brings satisfaction. With releasement, you come back to the former natural state of being. Did you gain anything out of this experience of going by the desire? You may say yes, but at the end, it is an empty experience. Empty in the sense that it did not enrich your natural state of being. Because sensual experience cannot add anything to the pure state of being. It is intrinsically pure, like the freshness of water. Can you add anything to the freshness of water? No. But you may say, the experience of pleasure added to your mind. Really speaking, that addition is a burden, an unnecessary burden, isn't it? The experience is registered in the mind, and then the mind keeps on demanding it again and again. It disturbs your natural state of being. It keeps on demanding for more and more experience, and you are back into the unrest, and the process restarts as a vicious circle. The more you go around it, it becomes intensified, and you reduce to be a slave of the demanding pleasure. This is not an abstraction. You can see its truth in people who pursue pleasure cravingly like lust. Lustful persons are inwardly unhappy and deeply frustrated. Watch yourself while pursuing a pleasure like sex, drinking, greedy eating, or entertaining, or whatever, and you will see the truth of what we saw above. People seek pleasure in an attempt to escape from dullness of the vacuum, emptiness within. Then their natural happiness wanes away and even lost because of the addiction to the pleasure. Now, how to get out of this vicious circle of pursuing after pleasure? If you want to discover the true happiness of life, you have to free from the grip of the vicious circle of the pleasure. What is the way out of it? First of all, we have to find out whether there is a state of pure consciousness, a state of being pure, and a luminous dimension of consciousness, which is completely free of desire for pleasure. If there is no such a dimension of consciousness, then we have no option in life rather than living in the realm of desire and pleasure as slaves of pleasure. How to know whether there is such a dimension? Is it by mere assumption, or by belief, or by mere acceptance of it? It is not something far away from our daily life, not something to aspire for in a future life. If you are self-observant, mindful of your thought process, you will see movements of no desire, moments of no thought, moments of pure consciousness. Take a moment such as a time spent freely walking in a silent moonlight, a morning walk in a natural surrounding, or sitting quietly by a riverside all alone. In literature, we find poets, sages, sane individuals, and mystics have reported of such experiences. Take, for instance, Wordsworth's the following poem. For often, when on my couch I lie, in vacant or pensive mood, they flash upon the inward eye, which is the bliss of solitude, and then my heart with pleasure fills and dances with the daffodils. The meaning of the words vacant and pensive mood means state of no mind, no thought. Pleasure means here joy. It is evident that Wordsworth was speaking of the joy he experienced from the pure consciousness. Pure consciousness is the dimension of consciousness which is undefiled and untouched by the things of the mind, such as desire, hatred, sorrow, and so on. What I said before is that if we are watchful enough, we will find such moments of no mind in our daily life. If you happen to really identify, really know the significance of such a movement, then you can open yourself to it easily. The pure consciousness is the untouched space between two thoughts. When a thought ends and you do not resume another thought, in that space, the pure consciousness is there. How blissful living then! It is a moment of freedom, peace, with no craving for pleasure, and there you are truly alive with vibrant life. Now lastly, let me go to the story told at the beginning. The man hanging holding a creeper and enjoying eating honey when awakened finds that there is neither the elephant chasing him, nor the pit, nor the serpent on the bottom, nor the creeper, nor the honeycomb in hand. He realizes that he was in a dream in his trance of